the kitchen. We are going to cut up this half a pig, and I may look like I know what I'm doing at times, but trust me, I've never done this before. I've just watched a ton of videos, so I have all this information in my head, and I'm going to try to put it to use. So let's just dive right into it. First thing we want to do is take out this leaf fat, because we're going to render it down for lard. It seems to be stuck in here. Wow. So much for just peeling it away. I think they lied. Let me cut that meat off of there. Okay. Oh, we've got the kidney in here.
Why are you keeping the kidney?
We're not keeping the kidney. Go ahead. Okay, that goes in there. This pig had a lot of fat on him. Okay.
You love this right here, bro.
Alright, so now this is the front of the pig and this is the back side of the pig. We're going to come to the 4th and 5th rib, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to go right here between the 4th and 5th rib. And we're going to cut this off, and this is going to be the butt and the picnic. The picnic we're going to turn into sausage. So I need 10 pounds of sausage meat. All right, there we go. So that there is your first primal. This side is your butt, and this side is your picnic once we cut it in half here. Next, we have the ham, which is the back leg. You want to come to right where this leg comes up in, make a slice here, and you can fold this up. And that's going to be your belly, which is, of course, your bacon. Now from back here, we have the loin here, which actually comes to about here. And then this here is your sirloin, which makes really good boneless sirloin steaks. So we're going to come in here and we're going to cut this off. And there's a lot of ways to do this. From what I saw online, trust me, I've watched many videos getting prepared for this, so I may not do it exactly right, but it's all edible no matter what you do with it. Wait. There we go. And this is the H bone, which we're going to cut that out anyways, so we're just going to go around it now, make it easier. Okay. Alright, this is your ham primal. And here's that H bone. We'll get that out when we do the sirloin. So, next we're going to cut the belly and the loin off. Man, look at all this fat. Very fat pig. Okay, now, get my shirt dirty. Okay, so we want to separate the loin from the belly. What you want to do is you want to come to where this curve comes down here, because it comes down and then it comes this way. What we want to do is we want to go straight from this point, and we want to come straight across here like this. And Eddie's going to have to do that with the saw. You just want to cut straight across there, and that will separate your belly or your bacon from your loin. You want to keep your saw as flat as possible so you're cutting through bone and not meat. Once you cut through the bone, then you can just finish it with your knife.
Oh, look at the layer of fat on that thing.
Alright, so that's our primals. We've got the ham, the loin, and the sirloin still attached. The belly, and the picnic, and the butt, which I haven't separated, but that's alright. Okay, so first thing, let's just go ahead and get this bacon out of the way. First thing we need to do is take off the spare ribs. Now, if you want to eat spare ribs, you would leave, I need my other knife, you would leave some meat on the bone, but Eddie doesn't like spare ribs, so I'm going to try to cut the bones as close as possible, so I'm not losing any meat. But all the bones will get used for stock, so any meat that is still attached will just get flavor of the stock. So alright, so if you had left meat attached to that, that would be your spare ribs. But we didn't. We don't have a bucket for... No, we need a bucket for stock. Can you grab the big black pan? Okay, so this is your bacon. We're going to trim this up. Make a nice square... That's not my knife. Make a nice square piece of bacon here. And this piece will go in for sausage. Alright, so there's your bacon. That's what your bacon will look like. A little bit of, maybe too much fat right here. I think I'll trim off just a little bit of that. So we're just going to set this over here as a bacon slab. And that'll get cured in the refrigerator for 7 days with some salt and sugar. Alright, next is the loin. Alright, now when you're doing the loin, first of all, let's get the tenderloin out. The tenderloin is right up against the ribs, right here. Alright, there's the tenderloin. All we have to do is trim the silver skin off of that and the extra fat. Alright, so there's your tenderloin. Put that over there. Alright, now your ribs actually stop in here. The last rib is right here, so it's about halfway down. So this, you could get some more ribs out of, but I'm going to cut them thin like I did on the other ribs. And this here, from here to here, is your sirloin. So we're going to cut the sirloin off here. Alright, now we can get that H-bone out, no problem. And that's going to go in the pot for our stock. Where is the pot for stock? Did we come up with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, I'm going to trim some of this extra fat off. We don't like a lot of fat on our food. And it's easier to trim the fat now instead of doing it after you get the chops all cut up.
Mikey would love it if you cut off all the fat.
Okay, these are your boneless sirloin steaks.
Stove's not over there. Oh. Well.
So there you have a boneless sirloin steak. And you can cut a lot more of that fat off. I probably will when we prepare it. And this I'm just going to throw into the bucket for sausage. Alright, so I'm just going to take all these ribs out. Like I said, Eddie doesn't like ribs. So we're going to take out the ribs.
You guys want to try some?
And trying to stay up as close as possible to them. No, I've never bought them in the store, so just not something. They never have much meat on them, but this is where you can make them. You can put as much meat on them as you want. You'll make your pork chops smaller, but if you really want ribs, you just keep more meat on the rib side and less meat on the pork chop side. So we're just going to go down through here and debone this. And there's one little rib at the end, so try not to miss that one. And just keep your knife up against the bones. Let go, please. Okay, now this end, you have ribs that come, these ribs that come up, and then on this side, they go straight over. So you have to come in from the other side. There we go. So if you were saving for the ribs, this is where when you cut off the chine bone, this would be your ribs right here. But we'll take off any meat that's left on there and keep it for sausage. Okay, so this here is all your pork chops. So you just square it up, make it look nice and pretty. Throw your scraps into the sausage bucket. This is where it pays to have a really sharp knife. I've already cut off the excess fat, or most of it, on the back side. Okay, now it all depends on how fat you want your pork chops to be. I'm gonna do, what's that, about 3/4 of an inch?
Ooh, close.
My hands are slippery. Can I have a kitchen towel, please? You can make these pork chops as thick or as thin as you want them. Definitely need a sharper knife. This one's not cutting it either. I should have squared this end up first. I think that's all gonna go in the sausage. Yeah, we'll just throw that in the sausage. Alright, so there you have your boneless pork chops. A lot more fat than meat. I'll have to trim those up before we cook them. That's quite a few pork chops. We'll throw that in the sausage. Next up we have the front primal, which is the picnic and the butt. Now to be honest, I've never bought anything in the grocery store other than pork chops, so I don't really know what either one of them does, but I do know I'm going to make the picnic into sausage, and I will probably make the butt into a roast. So this is where we want to cut this. Let's take this bone out first. Where's my boning knife? Alright, there's that bone. That needs to be cleaned up and put into the pot for stock. Okay, now inside of here you also have the scapula. So, let's see. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this muscle group off right here, which is pretty easy to do. You just follow the natural seams. You can make that into a roast. Now, I was told there would be a vein sticking out here, but I don't see it. If you go just above that vein, if you happen to find it on yours, that's where you can get above the scapula. I can feel the scapula right here. So what we're going to do, we just want to cut this right in half. So, and then I'll have to work around the scapula as I come to it, which is right there. Alright, there's the scapula. We can trim that out for sausage. Or Eddie wants some cubed pork for making green chili. Okay, let's get the leg off. Alright, so you can cut the trotter off right here at this joint. If you can find the joint. Now we didn't skin the feet because we're not going to use the feet. So that's just going to go in the trash. Alright, now we're going to cut off the hock. The hock you can add to your beans or whatever. You guys probably know more than I do. I don't
Ham hock and beans.
I don't normally use anything besides pork chops. So alright, so you can cut the hock off. Right about here. Because then the rest of it we're going to make into sausage. Where's that joint? You can feel it. It's right there. Alright, so there's your hock for your ham hock and beans.
Okay.
Alright, so what have we got here? We just got a whole ton of fat here. Yeah, I got my roast right there. I was going to say I didn't get my roast out of it. Alright, so all of this meat here is going into sausage. Get rid of the trauma. Alright, and this is going into the sausage. So I'm going to leave somebody else to chop up all the sausage meat. This is the ham, the last primal. Now if I had room in my refrigerator, I would make this into a ham, but I don't because you need to brine it for 7 to 10 days, depending on the weight of it, which I'm not all sure about that, so please don't ask me. Like I said, this is my very first time to butcher a pig, so from what I understand here, we're gonna try to get this bone out. We're gonna cut it open, and there should be 3 roasts in here if I can do it right, which don't know if I can or not. So I'm gonna probably won't do this right because I'm gonna cut it open so I can get to the bone. if there's any knife companies out there that want to send me some knives to try, I'm all for it, because my knives are terrible. Alright, we got the bone out. We left some meat on it. It'll go into sausage. Alright, now to figure out these roasts. Alright, so right here I believe is the eye round. You want to, anytime you're trying to take off a roast, just follow the natural seam and you should get it. I got a little piece of a bone in there from something. Alright, here's the eye round roast. And then you have the top round and the bottom round. So we're just going to cut this right here between the natural seam of things. And there you have two roasts that need to be cleaned up, tied up, whatever you're going to do with them. I got a bone in here. There we go. So you just want to take off whatever you want to take off for the fat, trim them up, and tie them up, or whatever you're going to do. I don't have any butcher's twine, so I think I'm just going to bag them up the way they are and then figure out how to cook them when the time comes. If anybody has any suggestions on the best way to cook them, I'm all ears, because as I've said a few times, I've only ever done pork chops. So alright guys, well, like I said, this was our very first time butchering a pig, and I don't think it went too bad. We got a mess of pork chops, a slab of bacon, some roast, some hocks. This was from half a pig. I don't know the live weight because we have no way of picking him up to weigh him. Something we have noticed, this pig was very, very fatty. These were American guinea hogs, supposedly the Kobe beef of pork. So I don't know if it's the breed that made them really fatty or if it was our feed that made them fatty. Our next go round, we will definitely buy a different type of pig and see what the difference is. These were very large, very big around, but short. Very, very fatty. So that's our experience with the American guinea hog. Also, when we butcher the second pig, which is Hawk, he's up in the field still, we're going to scald and scrape it and see if that comes out any better. We did notice there is some hair on this, so we're gonna have to wash them off before we package them. Make sure they're really, really clean. So the second pig we're gonna do, we're definitely gonna scald and scrape and see what we think of that process. I think we did pretty good for our first time. Butchers, go ahead and give it to me. Let me know what I did wrong, what I should have done different. I'm learning. I only know what I've learned from YouTube and reading a couple of books. So for now, everybody stay safe, and we will see you on the next video.